Welcome, welcome to the session of essential medicines, fixed dose combination, over the counter drugs, and herbal medicines. I'm Dr. Jaybabu, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmacology, Kakatiya Medical College, Warangal. By the end of this session, the MBBS Phase 2 medical student should know the concept of essential medicines, should be able to list the essential medicines, and also able to prepare a list of essential medicines when he is working in a primary health center. Regarding fixed dose combinations, you should know the advantages and disadvantages. Here, the medical student should list the fixed dose combinations, able to know the pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic parameters to combine two drugs in fixed dose combinations. The medical students should know the rational and irrational prescribing of drugs with examples. Over-the-counter medicines. The medical student should be able to define over-the-counter drugs and should know what are prescription medicines and over-the-counter drugs. They should know the similarities and differences between the over-the-counter drugs and prescription medicines. They should know how to use OTC medicines and also how to prevent the misuse of over-the-counter medicines. The therapeutic potential of over-the-counter drugs. The ingredients of unknown efficacy for the selected over-the-counter drugs and hidden ingredients. Herbal medicines. They should know at least 10 herbal medicines used in allopathic practice. Advantages and disadvantages of the herbal medicines. Various supplements and associated risks of herbal medicines. These are the objectives of our topics. They are very important, and the medical student should be able to know all these objectives. Coming to the essential medicines. According to WHO, list of drugs that satisfy the healthcare needs of majority of population. They should therefore be available at all times in adequate amount and in appropriate dosage forms at a price the individual and the community can afford. Aims to ensure the availability of the most of the drugs in appropriate dosage forms in sufficient quantity so that they are available to the majority of population at affordable price, particularly to the poor patients. The list of essential medicines. Accordingly, we should able to prepare depending upon the situation of the area and the situation, the hospital placement and disease pattern, disease incidence, available infrastructure and financial resources. We should be able to list the essential medicines. For example, iron and folic acid preparations for anemia of pregnancy, anti-tubercular drugs, anti-malarial drugs, anti-epilepsy drugs, antipyretics are drugs for pain and palliative care, antidotes used for poisoning cases, anti-allergic medicine, the medicines which are used for anaphylaxis, antibiotics, solutions correcting water, electrolyte, and acid-base disturbances, medicines for reproductive health and perinatal care, anesthetics and preoperative medicines, medicines used for the systems like cardiac vascular system, renal system, respiratory system, eye and ENT medicines, vitamins and minerals, antiseptics and disinfectants. So according to WHO, essential medicines are those that satisfy the healthcare needs of the majority of the population. They should be of assured quality, available at all times, in adequate quantities, and in appropriate dosage forms. They should be selected with regard to disease prevalence in a country, evidence on safety and efficacy, and comparatively cost effectiveness. The drugs are selected on the basis of disease prevalent in the area of that particular hospital. This is important because there is a variation of the prevalence of the disease within the country from one state to other state and from one city to other city, and even there is a variation in one area to other area. For example, sensitivity or resistance pattern of various antimicrobial agents. So comprehensive and suitable essential medicine list can be prepared based on the epidemiology of the disease, prevalence in the community from community medicine. This will also help for rational and economical usage of drugs in the community. So essential medicines, the list of such drugs is presented at two levels. The core list, which indicates the minimum drug needs of a basic healthcare system, listing the most cost-effective drugs for priority conditions. The complementary list, which consists of drugs for priority diseases that are cost-effective but not necessarily affordable or may need specialized healthcare facilities. This list also includes essential medicines for less frequent diseases. The section on reserve anti-infective agents could be integrated into complementary list. This concept has been advocated for use in hospitals and has many advantages. The essential medicine concept has many advantages. It improves the practitioner's knowledge of the drugs is prescribing and hence the quality of prescribing. It reduces the cost of patient care. The drugs from such selected list should be made available at all times, even at the remotest places in the country. The list will differ according to the factors such as local disease pattern, disease incidence, available infrastructure, and the financial resources. Genetic, environmental, and demographic factors should be taken into account. Drug utilization studies are necessary for both urban and rural areas to understand the factors and deficiencies in the healthcare systems. Those drugs which are of proven value, relatively safe and cost-effective should be included. And the list should be revised from time to time. The fixed dose combinations are acceptable only when the dosage of each ingredient meets the requirements of a defined population group, and the combination has advantages over a single compound in therapeutic effects, safety, and compliance. For example, anti-tuberculosis drugs. So many countries have now prepared essential drug lists based on their priorities. It is not correct to say that drugs not included in such lists are non-essential and hence not required. Some of them are indeed useful for special indications under specific circumstances. For example, anti-cancer drugs. So we have community pharmacology, integrated work produces a different following benefits for better health facilities. You should know about essential medicine list preparation, irrational use of medicines, and pharmacoeconomics for the safe and protected community. We have pharmacovigilance and pharmacogenomics. To know the impact of drugs on the community, we have pharmacoepidemiology. For making research more accepted, we have clinical research and clinical trials. So integrated work produces many benefits for better health facilities in the community. The essential medicine list, rational drug usage, pharmacoeconomics. For the safe and protected community, pharmacovigilance and pharmacogenomics. For studying the impact of drugs on the community, pharmacoepidemiology, making research more accelerated and accepted by the community, clinical research and clinical trials. So branch of pharmacology, which is gaining importance related to this field, is called community pharmacology. Coming to the other topic, fixed dose combinations. The fixed dose combination is a formulation of 2 or more active ingredients combined in a single dosage or pharmaceutical formulation available in certain fixed doses. It never means a concomitant drug therapy wherein 2 or more drugs are given separately for treatment of disease. The criteria, they should be having approximately equal half-life. So fixed dose combination drugs can be defined as 2 or more drugs in a single formulation, with each drug having independent modes of action and the combination of which is synergistic or additive or complementary in their effect. Free combinations can be defined as 2 or more drugs in separate formulations, each taken usually at the same time. Many consider combination therapy in whatever form to be essential to the treatment of hypertension and other cardiovascular conditions, as well as major infectious diseases such as HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria, and to the prevention of drug resistance. There is limited empirical evidence to support or refute the main purported advantages of fixed dose combinations, namely increased patient compliance and amelioration of antimicrobial resistance. Why we need fixed dose combination? To improve the adherence, to reduce the costs, to improve the access and the equity, for the less medication errors, and for co-blistered combinations. The criteria for the preparation of fixed dose combinations. Effects is such that the combination is safe and effective. 2 or more drugs which are combined in a single dosage should have approximately equal plasma half-life. The ratio of each component is such a formulation, however, depends on their volume of distribution and peak plasma concentration. Bioequivalent: if 2 drugs show comparably bioavailability at the similar time to achieve peak blood concentrations. Use drugs with non-overlapping toxicities so that each drug in the combination can be administered at near maximal dose. Combine agents with different mechanisms of action in order to inhibit the emergence of broad spectrum drug resistance. Administer the full combination as early as possible in the disease. Focus has to remain to use every agent at its maximum tolerated dose. Principle of this maximum therapeutic effectivity will be achieved by co-administrating each drug at its maximum tolerated dose. Conventional wisdom is that more is better. Factors affecting volume of distribution and plasma half-life, lipid solubility of drug, ionization of the drug, plasma binding of the proteins, molecular weight, presence of tissue-specific transporters, different regional blood flow. For example, cotrimoxazole is a combination of sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim. Sulfadoxine with pyrimethamine, clavulanic acid plus amoxicillin or clavulanic acid with ampicillin, carbidopa and levodopa combinations. Ratio of doses of each component in such formulation would depend on apparent volume of distribution and peak plasma concentration at steady state of the individual drug. Cotrimoxazole for synergism, the optimal ratio of minimum inhibitory concentration is 1:20. If acting independently, but volume of distribution of trimethoprim is 5 to 6 times greater than sulfamethoxazole. Hence, trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole is mixed in the ratio of 1:4 at peak plasma concentration. Should mimic the ratio of 1:20, which is optimal for synergism. In practice, ratio of trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole is kept 1:5 instead of 1:4 to prevent the drug resistance. Although we can determine the relationship between synergism, antagonism, and drug-drug ratio for a given combination in vitro, this information in itself is insufficient to achieve improved therapeutic outcomes in vivo because of the differential distribution and metabolism of the individual drugs within the conventionally administered cocktail. Cisplatin, with an elimination half-life of 20 to 45 minutes, is removed rapidly from plasma, whereas the terminal elimination of half-life for paclitaxel is greater than 10 hours. Given such disparate pharmacokinetics, it is clear that when a combination of these two drugs is administered intravenously for the treatment of using conventional aqueous formulations, the ratio of the drugs will be undoubtedly changed dramatically and rapidly after injection. So advantages of fixed dose combination: simpler dosage schedule improves compliance and therefore improves treatment outcomes, prevents and slows attainment of antimicrobial resistance by eliminating monotherapy. Always for synergistic combinations, for example, trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole combination allows each drug to selectively interfere with successful steps in bacterial folate metabolisms. Convenience and for better patient compliance, all the components present in a formulation actually needed by the patients. Cost saving compared to both or all the components administered separately. When two drugs are used at constant dose for a long time, thiazides plus beta blocker in mild to moderate hypertension. In elderly who has a group We see more drugs because of multiple pathology, enhanced effects or synergism, for example, cotrimoxazole and combination of carbidopa and levodopa, oral contraceptive pills, therapeutic effects of two components being same may add up, while side effects being different may not. For example, amlodipine and atenolol. Minimization of side effects, carbidopa and levodopa is a combination which minimizes the side effects. Side effects of one component may be counteracted by the other. For example, thiazide diuretic with potassium sparing diuretics. Combined formulation ensures that a single drug will not be administered, for example, in tuberculosis therapy and antiretroviral therapy. Reduces drug shortages by simplifying drug storage and handling, and thus lowers the risk of being out of stock. Only one expiry date simplifies dosing. Single products may have different expiry dates. Procurement, management, and handling of drugs is simplified. Lower production, packing, and shipping costs. Side effects may be reduced by using one drug. Reduces medication errors. Disadvantages. Fixed dose combinations are sometimes more expensive than separate tablets. Potential quality problems when drugs are combined, especially with rifampicin in fixed dose combinations for tuberculosis. This requires bioavailability testing. If a patient is allergic or has a side effect to one component, the fixed dose combination must be stopped and replaced by separate tablets, although this issue exists even with single dose formulations. Dosing is inflexible and cannot easily be regulated to patient needs. Each patient has unique characteristics such as weight, age, pharmacogenetics, comorbidity that may alter drug metabolism and drug effects. This criticism does not, however, apply to tuberculosis or HIV/AIDS, where fixed dose combinations are made with weight adjusted dosages. Incompatible pharmacokinetics is irrational because of different elimination T half-lives of individual components. The patient may not actually need all the drugs present in the combination, so he may be subjected to additional side effects or expenses. Dose of any component drug cannot be adjusted independently if desired. If pharmacokinetic characteristics of two drugs do not match, it may lead to unacceptable range of fluctuations in plasma concentrations at steady state because fixed dose combinations are given at fixed intervals. Difficult to identify one particular drug causing harmful or beneficial effects for the treatment. For example, treatment of anemia. Altered renal or hepatic functions may differently affect the pharmacokinetics of the component. Contraindication to one component contraindicates the whole preparation. Confusion of the therapeutic aims and false sense of superiority of two drugs or one is fostered, especially in case of antimicrobials. Thus, the therapeutic aim should be clear and a fixed dose combination should not be prescribed unless good reason to believe that patient needs all the drugs. Pharmacokinetic parameters of the component drugs match each other. So obstacles of to use the fixed dose combinations. Formidable obstacles still prevent the widespread introduction of fixed dose combinations, including problems with bioavailability of one or more components, lack of regulatory quality pressure from interest groups in some developing countries to maintain irrational combinations. So fixed drug combinations if it is the combination of two or more drugs in a fixed dose ratio in single formulation. It is a combination of two or more drugs in a fixed dose ratio in a single formulation. Fixed dose combinations. We have examples levodopa and carbidopa for Parkinsonism, isoniazid and rifampicin pyrazinamide for tuberculosis, ferrous sulfate and folic acid for anemia of pregnancy, sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim in cotrimoxazole, amoxicillin and clavonic acid in one combination, estrogen and progesterone as a oral contraceptive. But there are advantages and disadvantages in the fixed dose combinations. Advantages: increased patient compliance, prevents development of microbial resistance, increased efficacy, reduced side effects, reduced cost, and synergistic effect. Disadvantages: inflexible, fixed dose ratio, incompatible pharmacokinetics, increased toxicity due to inappropriate combinations. If a adverse effect occurs, difficult to identify the component of fixed dose combination causing it. The preparation cannot be used if there is a contraindication for the use of one component. Physician and pharmacist ignorance of the contents. So the key advantage of the fixed dose combination, all of the individual active pharmaceutical ingredients are available at low cost. Regulation, high quality, safe and efficacious products would be assured by compliance of research and development of the process, manufacture and quality of assurance, technically more demanding. Bioequivalence and stability, pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics. As fixed dose combinations improve patient adherence. Despite the importance of improving adherence, there are surprisingly few large reliable treatment trials of the effect of combining medications and adherence. Many of the trials are suspect because outcome measures were heterogeneous. Almost all the studies were too small or had inadequate follow-up time and were therefore likely to miss small to moderate sized effects. There is a little reliable evidence about the effect of fixed dose combination medications or a blister packaging on adherence and or treatment outcomes in tuberculosis, malaria, or HIV/AIDS. Large, simple randomized trials to compare fixed dose treatment with the same doses of the separately dispensed medications are required to quantify the adherence and treatment benefits of fixed dose combinations for each disease. The most common preparations of fixed dose combinations are vitamins, cough suppressants, antidiarrheals, iron preparation with B12 and folic acid, antacids, analgesics, antibacterials, anti-tuberculosis drugs. Fixed dose combinations in WHO's essential drug model list. We have neomycin and bacitracin, amoxicillin clavonic acid, imipramine, and with cilastatin, sulfamethoxazole plus trimethoprim. We have either ointments or in tablet forms or injections with certain doses. Rifampicin, isoniazid, rifampicin, isoniazid, pyrazinamide, isoniazid, ethambutol combinations. Rifampicin, isoniazid, pyrazinamide, ethambutol. benzoic acid plus salicylic acid, ointment, ethynyl estradiol plus levonorgestrel tablets, ethynyl estradiol and levonorgestrel, ethynyl estradiol plus norethistron, levodopa and carbidopa combination, levodopa tablet 100 mg levodopa and carbidopa 10 mg for the Parkinson's diseases, the combination with less side effects. Ferrous salt plus folic acid, sulfadoxine plus pyrimethamine, lidocaine plus epinephrine, ORS, artemether and lumefantrine. Okay, then coming to another topic, that is a rational use of medicine. According to WHO, rational use of medicines requires that patients receive medications appropriate to their clinical needs in doses that meet their own individual requirements for an adequate period of time and at the lowest cost to them and their community. It involves the administration of right drug, right dose, right duration, right cost to the right patient. The rational use of medicine involves the administration of right drug, right dose, right duration, right cost to the right patient. Irrationalities in prescribing drugs, unnecessary use of drugs, for example, antibiotics for viral infections. Though we use antibiotics in viral infections to avoid other mixed infections. Drugs not prescribed as per standard treatment guidelines, underuse of drugs, not prescribing oral rehydration solution in acute diarrhea, incorrect use of drug, for example, selection of wrong drug, use of incorrect route, and incorrect dose of the drug. Use of medicines with doubtful efficacy, for example, appetite stimulants, prescribing the banned drugs, for example, cisapride, use of irrational combinations, ampicillin and cloxacillin for staphylococcal infections, prescribing unnecessary expensive drugs, polypharmacy. Hazards of using the irrational use of drugs. There may be therapeutic failure, increased incidence of adverse drug reactions, emergence of drug-resistant microorganisms, increase in cost of treatment, financial burden to society, loss of patient's faith in the doctor. So the rational prescribing define the therapeutic problem. It makes a diagnosis, define therapeutic goals to be achieved, the relief of symptoms and the cure of the disease, select the right drug, right route, right dose, and right duration of treatment. Rational prescribing gives proper instructions and information about the drug and monitors therapy. Another topic we have over the counter drugs. Over the counter drugs are the medicines that may be sold to a customer without a prescription from a healthcare professional, as compared to prescription drugs, which may only be sold to customers possessing a valid prescription. In many countries, over-the-counter drugs are selected by regulatory agency to ensure that they are the products that are safe and effective when used without a physician's care. Many countries, a number of OTC drugs are available in establishments without a pharmacy, such as general stores, supermarkets, and gas stations. Some of the interesting factors about the over-the-counter drugs: 3/5 people have used an OTC medication in the last 6 months. This is slightly more than who use a medication and treatment or a regular medication in the last 6 months. Implication: you are more likely to encounter over the counter drug use in the school than the treatment. People don't consider over the counter medicine as a real medicine. People just don't know what is in these medications, and many contain the same active ingredients. Only 34% of the consumers could identify the active ingredient in the medicine they were taking. Surprisingly, 49% of consumers get information from advertisements. 57% get their information from health professionals. So most of the common uses of the over-the-counter drugs, we use many of the OTC drugs for pain, cold, cough, flu, allergy, and sinus, heartburns, stomach aches, constipation, diarrhea, and skin problems. When we see the situation in India of the over-the-counter drugs, the proposal to have a list of over-the-counter drugs has been under the consideration of government for some time. A committee appointed for the purpose has been working on it for some years. A list of OTC drugs is understood to have been now finalized. The main objective of having the list of OTC drugs is to widen the access of at least medicines which do not require a prescription or a medical supervision to larger sections of the society. Apart from expanding the access to modern medicine, such a move is also expected to bring down the medicine cost to some extent. Despite having lakhs of retail chemists in the country, even commonly used medicines are not available to large section of rural folk of India today. Some examples of the medical conditions that can be treated with the over-the-counter drugs. For allergies, loratadine, diphenhydramine. For athletics fluid, clotrimazole or tolfenate. For cough, dextromethorphan. For fever, acetaminophen, ibuprofen. Migraine. For pain, ibuprofen. For stomach reflux, ranitidine or omeprazole. Prescription and OTC drugs. So the prescription drugs are available only by recommendation of an authorized health professional such as physician. Non-prescription, that is over-the-counter or OTC drugs, available on request and do not require approval by healthcare professional. Prescription and OTC drugs have been reviewed differently by public since the 1951. In general, the public use of OTC drugs as minimally effective and safe, and prescription drugs are more potent and frequently dangerous. However, these decisions are not always accurate. So more than 3 lakh different OTC products are available on the market. So estimated 3 out of 4 people routinely self-medicate with the OTC drugs. Abuse of the OTC products. OTC products generally have a greater margin of safety than their prescription counterparts, but issues of abuse need to be considered. And the physical dependence and psychological dependence. Non-prescription products that can be severely habit forming, decongestants, laxatives, antihistamines, sleeping pills, or antacids. The active ingredients in OTC drugs have been classified and placed in category 1 are considered safe and effective. OTC labels, the required label information includes approved use of the products, detailed instructions on safe and effective use, cautions or warnings to those at greatest risk when taking the medication. Label information should contain the product name, identity, active ingredients, quantity, manufacturer, indications, when to use, how to use, what to watch for, possible drug interactions, when drug should no longer be used, showing the expiry date, precautions, warnings, directions, and indications. Everything should show the label information. So the active ingredient, the drug fact should be mentioned, uses particularly, and warnings in using the product, what may happen, special indications for pregnant and breastfeeding women, how to use, the directions should be mentioned. The inactive ingredients should also be mentioned. Reading a drug label. Non-prescription drugs are required to have labels that explain what a drug benefits and risks and how to use the drug correctly. The label is entitled as drug facts. Active ingredients are listed at the top, followed by uses, warnings, directions, other information, and inactive ingredients. The key to proper medicine use is reading the label. The label tells you what a medicine is supposed to do and who should or who should not take it and how to use it. The manufacturers of OTC medicine sometimes make changes to their products or labeling. New ingredients, dosages, or warnings. Make sure to read the label each time you use the product. Always look for special flags or banners on the front product label altering you to such changes. If you read the label and still have questions, ask your doctor, pharmacist, or other healthcare professional for advice. The label also tells you the expiry date, when applicable, date after which you should not use the product. Lot or batch code, manufacturer information to identify the product, name and address of the manufacturer, packer, and distributor, net quantity of contents, how much of the product is in each package, what to do if an overdosage occurs. Advantages of the over-the-counter drugs. Over-the-counter status offers some clear potential advantages over prescription status. The medication becomes easier to obtain and access to it broadens. The price of the drug often drops and the patient avoid both the cost and delay of the visit to a prescribing physician. Patient's ability to choose their own medications increases their autonomy, and the patient benefit from educating themselves about their options. There are also benefits for the manufacturer, who gains a new opportunity for profits after its patent has been expired and competitors have entered the market. Since patent protection is frequently extended when a switch is made. Disadvantages of OTC: risk related to self-treatment by the patients, risk of misdiagnosis, delays in obtaining the correct diagnosis, adverse interactions with other medications, reduced opportunity to receive counseling about possible lifestyle therapies such as exercise and diet, poor compliance by patients who view over-the-counter drugs are different from the real medications used by patients who are unlikely to benefit from the drug but will nevertheless to be exposed to its risk, and patterns of taking medications inappropriately if one is good, two are better. In addition, patients with insurance that covers medications face the paradox of the increased rather than reduced costs for the medications because insurers ordinarily do not cover the OTC drugs, the prices of which may exceed the amount of patients' payments for the prescription versions. Finally, over-the-counter use renders it more difficult to study a drug's effects since prescription databases can no longer be used for that purpose. Potential side effects of OTC drugs: they can pose risk for every young children, the elderly, people with kidney problems, and people taking more than one medicine. Aspirin and NSAIDs, the main side effects associated with aspirin and other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs is gastrointestinal problems. These problems can range from upset the stomach to gastrointestinal bleeding, a serious event that is most likely to occur in older people. Aspirin and NSAIDs may make high blood pressure worse and interfere with blood pressure medicines. High doses of aspirin pose a risk of liver damage for people who have liver disease, juvenile arthritis, or rheumatic fever. Acetaminophen, although safe in majority of uses, long-term use of high doses of acetaminophen, especially in products that also contains caffeine such as Excedrin or codeine, have been shown to cause a form of kidney disease called as analgesic nephropathy. This serious condition may develop after years or decades of daily use. Antihistamines can cause sedation or drowsiness and therefore can significantly impair a person's ability to drive or operate machinery. The sedative effects of antihistamines may increase the risk of falling. Antihistamines can also cause temporary dry mouth or eyes. Decongestants, pseudoephedrine can temporarily cause nervousness, dizziness, and sleeplessness. It can make you lose your appetite and retain urine. It can also cause heart palpitations, high blood pressure, or high blood sugar levels. Alcohol and OTC medicines, pain relievers. If you drink more than one alcoholic beverage per week and use non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, including aspirin, you may be at increased risk of gastrointestinal bleeding. People who consume 3 or more alcoholic beverages each day should consult their physician before using any pain reliever. Acetaminophen is less likely than non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs to be associated with gastrointestinal problems, including bleeding. But to minimize the risk of serious liver injury, you should never take more than the recommended daily dose, 4 grams per day. Antihistamines, decongestants, and cough medicines. The combination of OTC, antihistamines, and alcohol can increase drowsiness, especially in elderly people. In addition, alcohol makes the drowsiness, sedation, and impaired motor skills associated with cough suppressants, dextromethorphan, and codeine worse, make it worse. Misuse and dependence. Misuse of prescription and OTC drugs can often lead to psychological and physical dependence. People use increased amounts of drugs to ensure a sense of well being while treating unrelated illness or health problems or for non medical purposes. Many medications contain alcohol and narcotics such as codeine, which can be addictive and life threatening. Use of alcohol, antidepressants with some other prescription or the over the counter drugs may inhibit or increase the drug's effectiveness and cause loss of coordination. Combining OTC drugs with other prescription drugs can cause the similar effects or even more harmful types of reactions. So, over-the-counter drug abuse, over-the-counter drugs, especially cough and cold medications, are becoming very popular as a recreational drugs for teenagers between the ages of 13 and to 16. Cough and cold tablets contain a chemical called dextromethorphan, which is found in more than 120 non-prescription cough and cold medicaments. Not only over-the-counter drug that teenagers are abusing. The list also indicates diet pills, sleep pills, and motion sickness medication. Some teenagers use excessive amounts of diet pills in an attempt to lose weight quickly. Others take them to get weight. Diet pills are not meant for teens as they contain potentially dangerous ingredients. Even herbal diet pills can be dangerous as they are not regulated. Motion sickness pills such as scopolamine are used by teens. Taken in large doses, one entire package or more. Drugs like Dramamine cause hallucinations. The most important thing to remember is that no prescription or the over-the-counter drug is completely safe for all pregnant women. The risk of damage being done to fetus is greatest in the first few weeks of pregnancy. Studies show that, and on average, women take between 1 and 4 medications during pregnancy, not including vitamins or minerals. An estimated 60% of pregnant women use over-the-counter drugs, not always with physician's oversight. In fact, there is no pregnancy safety data for more than 80% of prescription and OTC drugs, making it extremely difficult for doctors and pharmacists to provide guidance. The tips on OTC use: read the label, treat only the symptoms you have, know what to avoid while taking OTC, beware of interactions, ask before you buy, use as directed on the label, be careful if you take more than one OTC, don't mix the treatment and OTCs, including herbals, medicines. Give your doctor a list of all the medications. For kids, use pediatric formulas. Throw medicines if they are expired. They are expired, don't use the medications. So the guidelines for choosing and using the over-the-counter drugs: make sure that the self-diagnosis is as accurate as possible. Choose a product because the ingredients are appropriate for the condition, not because the product has a familiar brand name. Choose a product with the fewest appropriate ingredients. Products that attempt to relieve every possible symptom are likely to expose people to unnecessary drugs, pose additional risks, and cost is more. Read the label carefully to determine the correct dose and precautions, including what conditions would make the drug a poor choice. When in doubt, ask the pharmacist or doctor what the most appropriate ingredient or product is present in that. Ask a pharmacist to check for potential interactions with other drugs being used. Ask a pharmacist to identify possible side effects. Do not take more than the recommended dose. Do not take an OTC drug longer than the maximum time suggested on the label. Stop taking the drug if symptoms worsen. Keep all drugs, including OTC drugs, out of reach of the children. Do read the label carefully. Do take your medicine exactly as your doctor tells you. Do make sure that each of your doctors, if you are seeing more than one, has a list of all the medications you are currently taking. Do make sure everyone you live with knows what medicines you are taking and when you are supposed to take it. Don't combine the prescription medicines and OTC medicines unless your doctor says it's okay. Don't stop taking a medicine. Change how much you take or how often you take it without first talking to your doctor. Don't stop taking a medicine. Change how much you take or how often you take without first talking to your doctor. Don't take someone else's medicine. Don't use medicine after its expiry date. Don't crush, break, or chew tablets or capsules unless your doctor tells you to. Some medicines won't work right unless they are swallowed whole. Rules for the proper over-the-counter drug usage. Always know what you are taking. Know the effects. Read the warnings and cautions. Don't use anything more than 1 to 2 weeks. Be particularly cautious if you are taking prescription drugs or herbal products. If you have any questions, ask the pharmacist. If you don't need it, don't use it. Coming to the herbal medicines. Herbal medicines is the use of plants to treat the disease and enhance general health and well-being. Herbs can interact with other pharmaceutical medications and should be taken with care. There is no objection to prescribing proven plant preparations. Several drugs used in modern medicine have been derived from plants. Some of the herbal medicines list. Allium sativum, that is garlic, is used in the treatment of wounds, toothache, and hypertension. Blumia balsamifera, that is Nagal camphor, is used for the treatment of hypertension as a diuretic. Cassia alata ringworm bush is used for the treatment of scabies, fungal infections like athlete's foot ringworm and Pityriasis versicolor. Clinopodium douglasii mint is used for the treatment of cough, headache, muscle pain, arthritis, and rheumatism. Escherichia macrophylla scorpion bush is used for the treatment of diarrhea and stomachache. Momordica charantic, that is bitter melon, is used for the treatment of diabetic mellitus. Peperomia pellucidea silver bush is used for the treatment of gout and rheumatism. Cedium goa is used for the treatment of wounds and diarrhea. Pisqualis indica, that is Rangoon creeper, is used for the treatment of as an anti-helminthic medicine. Vitex negundo 5-leaved chaste tree is used for the treatment of cough, fever, and asthma. The physician should keep in mind while prescribing the herbal medicine. These preparations are difficult to standardize. The herbal preparations are difficult to standardize. They have inadequate scientific evidence. If not processed properly, herbo-mineral formulations, that is basmas, can lead to toxicity. It is impossible to test for the presence of ingredients in the package container label. They are not always as cheap as claimed. So the natural products from medicinal plants can be used as a source of potential drugs. But the many medicinal plants should be investigated thoroughly with experiments on plants. Herbal medicine should come under the regulations by Drug Controller General of India. So by the end of the session of the essential medicines, fixed dose combinations, over-the-counter drugs, and herbal medicines. The MBBS phase 2 medical student should know what is the essential medicine drug concept. Should be able to list the essential medicines. And if he is working as a medical officer in the primary health care center or any of the community area hospital center or district hospital, you should be able to know how to prepare the list of essential medicines pertaining to his locality. Fixed dose combinations, advantages, disadvantages, and you should know the list of the fixed dose combinations, their pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic parameters to be considered while making the combinations, rational and irrational prescribing of drugs with examples. The medical student should know the over-the-counter medicines and the prescription medicines, similarities and differences of the OTC medicines and prescription medicines, how to prevent the misuse, the therapeutic potential of OTC drugs, and the ingredients of the known efficacy for the selected OTC drugs. The herbal medicines in allopathic usage, advantages and disadvantages, and the various supplements and associated risks of the herbal medicines. Thank you for your active listening.